guest with us today to accomplish the purpose of this hour. Help us to be good Rotarians that know how to go out in our community and share the four-way test in a way that brings good message to our community, but also represents Rotary well. We just thank you for all the blessings, ask special blessings on our country, and help us to always be the type of people that you've called us to be. In the name of the God who created us, and all the people said it, amen. Amen. Thank you, please, and be seated. It is my opportunity to welcome our guests as well today. So let us begin first by asking if we have any visiting Rotarians with us today. Starting back at the back table. On this side, none. Rotarians in the middle. Rotarians over here on my left. Front table on the left. Boy, just a whole bunch of old home folks today, are we not? Oh, old home folks, yes. All right. We'll let Terry, you get a special introduction, Terry. Okay. All right, and now it's time to recognize our guests. So if you brought a guest, would you please stand and introduce your guest today? All right, sir.
Hey, Dave. With me, I have Dave Emerson. He's the new CEO of East Texas PDG.
All right, David, welcome.
July 1st.
All right, we're glad to have you, David. Thank you. Very good news report on the news of welcoming you to the community. Glad to have you with us today. All right. Any other guests with us today? All right. Well, thank you for being here. And David, you're welcome all the time. So come on back and be with us. Matter of fact, join the club. We'd love to have you as part of the club. So thank you for being with us. I'd like to take a little point of order, and that is advertising the Air Fest coming up on Friday, the 30th of June. And we have some volunteer opportunities available. If you would like to volunteer, get some of your service hours, I have a sign-up sheet. So come and see me after the meeting today. I'd like to get your name on the list. We're going to have a great time. I wish I could tell you all the planes that we've got 27 some odd planes coming this year. And I think a B-52 is involved in it as well. So please come on out and enjoy the Air Fest. All right, Mr. President.
All right.
Where are you? There you are.
Thank you very much, David. Our greeters for today were Steve Emmons and Harry Flowers. Thank you very much for that service. It helps get our youth to go in the correct direction. Also, I want to make mention of those of you who were here early enough got to see a preview of a couple or three songs from The Sound of Music. You can see that there are flyers on your table. It promises to be a really good program. I didn't realize till today that Kara Story is going to play the part of Julie Andrews in the play. She's got a wonderful voice. Broadway music is really her forte, I think, in a lot of ways. So it ought to be a very exciting 3 weekends, as it says on the particular placard that's on your table there. Okay, Rotary business. We need your May volunteer hours. Please email them to Holly. All of you have her address. End of year celebration, June 22nd at Bill and Donna Kroon's house. It will be from 5:30 to 7:30. Please sign up and prepay by June the 15th. We're running out of time on that. The cost is $50. 3 o'clock somewhere will again be at Javi's on June the
3 o'clock? 3 o'clock?
No, 5 o'clock. I misread it. Thank you. That means I'm impressed. You guys really are listening to what I say. Sometimes I think I'm just droning up here. Nobody's listening. Thank you for picking up on that. I would like to say I did that on purpose, but I didn't. Anyway, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's going to be June the 13th at Javi's. It's always a great time. I hope as many of you as possible can come out and make it. It's a wonderful way for us to meet and greet each other on a different venue. Is Tanya Boyd here on this Tosca Patriot Party entertainment by Tanya Boyd? Our guest speaker, I see that should be entertainment is why I thought I was making the announcement. Our guest speaker is going to be U.S. Congressman Nathaniel Moran. We will hear about his first few months in office. The cost is $7 per person, $5 per child. Flyers are in the check-in table. This is the Tosca Patriot Party Entertainment by Tanya Boyd. So look for that on the front table. Our program for next week is going to be Angie David. She's going to be talking about the Women of Faith and Hope for Uganda. That promises to be a really great program as well. Well, we're getting into this early, and I'm glad that we have the time because our speaker today is going to be giving us a really good program. But to introduce our speaker, I had read a quote by Orson Welles. Now, why are you laughing, BJ? I'm just trying to get into this. Some of you know, she already knows where I'm going. Some of you picked up on that. But anyway, I read a quote by Orson Welles. And Orson Welles, you know, was a tremendous writer, author of all sorts of things. And one of the things he said was that one of the greatest barriers to communication is insincerity. And I hadn't thought about it quite in that way. If you're insincere, that's a huge blockage to communicating with people. And he talked about it in terms of, let's see how he put that. He said that a lot of times when we talk, we have what you would call real aims. That's really what's in our heart. But too often we talk in terms of desired aims. And so there's a discrepancy between what you really want to happen and what you say you desire. And where you have that discrepancy, it can lead to all sorts of miscommunication. In fact, there's a tendency on people who have a wide enough deviation that they will talk in terms of using long-sounding words, which can lend toward obfuscation, or other times they will end up using just worn-out maxims that are just trite. And as all of you know, the very first law that we have, the very first thing about the things we think, speak, or do in Rotary is number one, is it the truth? And when you communicate, you're also wanting it to be the truth. You're wanting to show your real aim over against a desired aim. And I got to thinking about people that I know who are full of what I would call perspicacity and who have sagaciousness, and when you look into her eyes, you can see a real connection with the soul, that she's really, in a sense, giving you a recipient answer to what is going on as far as what she's trying to communicate. And she doesn't talk in terms of these sesquipedalianistic words that just use. But I know that all of you know that the person who personifies that more than any person I can think of in our Rotary is our president-elect, the best one in the nation, Trudy Williams.
Oh, thank you. I don't think he's going to be able to top that. And I mean that with all sincerity. Thank you so much, Allison. Okay. Welcome to Rotary. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really, really glad to see everybody come. That was a wonderful musical presentation right before. If you were lucky enough to get here, they did a great job. Wonderful job. And so I am just about ready for school to start back. I don't know if your children are living as good a life as mine is, but the only thing that they do right now is plot and plan. They have no money, no permission, no ride, no nothing. They just have a plan, and they let me know where they're going next. So when does school start back? That's what I want to know. So thank you again for being here. And as you all know, we do have a really special guest here today to talk to us about the Guatemala project that we helped with. And I was really glad to have Carroll Greenwaldt come because so those of you that are new to the club, you might not fully understand what that project was and how this particular club fit into it and what we did for that whole project and how our money and how that direction really helped in that area. So he's going to outline that for us. I did ask him to send me a short bio, and he sent me a sheet with some bullet points on it that says short bio. So the short bio for past district governor Carroll Greenwaldt. Short bio. He has been an active Rotarian for over 33 years, the past president of the Longview South and Longview Rotary Clubs, 2 different clubs, correct, Carroll? Wow, okay. Past district governor, District 5830, 2014 through 2015. Past District 5830 Foundation Chair. He is the current District 5830 trainer. And if you ever have a desire to go to the district assembly or to just go to any of those trainings, it's really a wealth of information that you get there, and you learn a lot about Rotary there. And Carroll's one of the people that helps to facilitate what Rotary is and what we do. He's the recipient of the Rotary International Citation for Meritorious Service for 2017. Wow. Recipient, Rotary International Service of Self Award for 2021. He's active in promoting and participating in numerous humanitarian projects in Guatemala and southern Mexico for the past 8 years to the present. He is a retired manager at Eastman Chemical. He served there for 45 years. Married to Mary Greenwaldt, who is also a Rotarian. 3 grown children, 7 grandchildren, and a Chihuahua. Please extend a most sincere welcome to Carroll Greenwaldt.
I was hoping she'd just say that I'm a committed and active Rotarian. That kind of sums it up. I'm really glad to be here again today. You all are great friends. I've been here a number of times. You suffered through my district governor speech back in 2014, and you lived to tell it about it. Although, you know, with Allison's words, some of those words he used, he talked about that 5 o'clock anywhere. Maybe we need to start at 3 o'clock and get a running start. You might be with me to do that, Allison.
There you go.
My goodness. We might do that today after all of that. Thank you for that perspicacious kind of thing. Yeah, perspicacity. Today is a big thank you to you all. I want to give you an overview of some of the things that are going on in Guatemala. Many are things that have been sponsored by different clubs around the district. And then the pinnacle of that is this past year completing the maternity ward project in the town of San Benito, which is in the northern part of Guatemala. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. So let's just go ahead. Holly, she's going to do the slides for me since we don't have one of those clickers today. So thank you, Holly, for being brave to do this.
Brave is the word.
You all are one of the most highly invested clubs that I know. Tyler is your focus and has been for many, many years with all of the humanitarian work that you all do to support many organizations in Tyler. I've served on the East Texas Council of Boy Scouts. I've been involved and engaged with Food Bank. I think I drive back and forth to Tyler a lot because of how you all are engaged in helping others. And your club has been vital in doing that, and I salute you. Next, thank you. Next slide. This, to some clubs, I put this, that other clubs across the district are accomplishing numerous breakthrough things. But because of what you all are doing, I stuck you right at the front of it. You and other clubs are accomplishing great things across the world. And one of these focal point areas is the Hospital Nacional de San Benito in the northern part of Guatemala. And Holly, just one more click. That national hospital serves 565,000 people. It's the only one. There are some smaller for-profit hotels, hospitals, but this is the one that serves many of the indigent folks and folks that can't pay and folks that have need for services. We call it a county hospital here, where people can come and receive services whether or not they're able to pay. And so this is there in the northern part of Guatemala, kind of like the panhandle of Texas. If you think about it, much of the populated part of Guatemala is in the south, and then up in the top is this broad area that's fairly sparsely populated, not too many roads, hard to get to, just 200 miles to the south to the capital city of Guatemala City takes 10 to 12 hours by car because of the condition of the roads and going over 2 mountain ranges. And so it's a very mountainous country. So, but this is the hospital. So next clip.
There we go.
There we go. We have done a number of projects there that spanned over quite a number of years. There was a hospital up in Clarksville that was closing, and they said, we got 30 beds. Can you do anything with those? Well, through miracles of nonprofits and other things, and some empty container trailers going back by boat to Guatemala to be refilled with bananas and pineapples and things of that sort. We placed those 30 beds in 2 transport trucks and by ship, got it to Guatemala and then over the road to this hospital. Amazing, and you can see these guys unloading it. Some of those are in military uniforms. It took 8 of us to pick those things up. They're about 600 pounds. And to get them up into the truck, I think they did it with sticks, and it really hurt my feelings. But there they are. In 2017, a global grant was established. This is your foundation money working to do major projects. We raised $80,000 and got $60,000 through the Rotary Foundation. And we had found little babies that were just laying there. They lived, if they died, they died. There were no instruments, nothing to monitor their vital signs and things of that sort. This grant provided that with state-of-the-art equipment. Next slide. And look at that statistic. Once you're able to monitor a baby's vitals, you can do things about life-threatening conditions and can administer medications and things to try to keep that little child alive. Next slide. And here are some others. I'm telling you, it touches your heart when you look and you think about that generous people in East Texas like yourselves, and through the miracle of the Rotary Foundation, we're able to have that kind of reach, that kind of good that we can do that is way beyond what any of us can do here individually in the local setting. Next slide. Then another club we found through some trips down there. If you keep going back, you just see more things that need to be done. And our dollars spread so far. We found that the pediatric ward, the little kids that were coming in with the bacteriologically infected kind of conditions were being cross-contaminated, if you will, with the virally infected children. And so they would catch things and their stays in the hospital would be extended. So with a $4,000 gift from a club in Paris, and with the architects in the Guatemalan Rotary Club close to this hospital, the Tikal Rotary Club, we were able to separate, their architects went to work, were able to separate that ward into 2 different wards and air condition the ward to where it was really livable for those children. And amazing what can be done. This was about a $1,200 gift from the Texarkana Sunrise Club of 12 members. Found that the mothers didn't have any place to nurse their tiny little babies there that were next door in the NICU. And so they put together this beautiful room, and there's an air conditioner. Did you see the temperature in Puerto Rico yesterday? 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Guatemala has already had 100 degrees Fahrenheit in this city with almost 100% humidity. So you can imagine the conditions in a hospital that has no air conditioning. And so many of the projects that we've done have provided climate control. I mean, we live and we love it, don't we? Can you imagine? So these mothers have a place to nurse their little children. In 2018, Dr. Yvette Marquand, who is the only ophthalmologist for that same region, 560,000+ people, she's the only one. She opened a new eye clinic. And I bet you, if you look on the second part of that slide over here. Does that look like something you might recite in a meeting? Okay, I want you all to memorize that really quickly. We'll do the four-way test at the end of the
In Spanish.
presentation in Spanish. There it is. It's on her door leading into her eye clinic. And here's the reason why. Next slide. Several clubs in the district provided money for her, Dr. Mara Quinn over here, to open up this eye clinic. And joining her behind her is Julio Grazioso, who was the district governor in my year, 2014-15, and the director of the hospital in the white coat. He liked to dress up and look sharp. And then behind him was the president of Rotary International, who happened to be on a visit. And they thought so much of all of the Rotary projects that had been done in this hospital that they brought Gary Wong from Taiwan to come and see. And so he was helping to cut the ribbon, and next click. What Rotary clubs in Northeast Texas did in our district is to provide her a slit lamp. You've had it, you've been there when your eyes are checked, that bright light that moves side by side. Remember, you gotta put your chin in the little spot, and you gotta put your forehead up against it. That's what she uses to try to help to determine the condition of people's eyes that she sees. And this slit lamp allowed her to double her patient load. So think about that. What you all and others have been able to do just by going back over and over, and then linked with Boots on the 14 members, the T-Call Rotary Club. 12, by the way, are women, 2 are men, and that's one of the most active clubs I've ever seen in my whole Rotary experience. They don't have programs like this one. They have project management meetings. So every week, each one of their members reports on the status of the projects that they are working on. And they move things along really expeditiously as a result of that. In 2010, this was the COVID triage center for the hospital, an old dilapidated U.S. Army tent. That's all they had. They said, could you help? So clubs around our district quickly raised about $11,000, and we wired that money to them, and they found an old, unused container out at the airport. Nobody wanted it. They pulled that into an area where they could work on it. They cut doors and windows. They provided a place for an air conditioner. They painted it. They furnished it inside, and that has become their COVID screening area and their intake area for the hospital now that COVID has waned. Let's back up one.
Sure.
Can you back up?
Uh-huh.
The lady that painted the Rotary symbol was so upset because she left out 2 teeth, 2 gear teeth. And she said, should I repaint it? Should I start over? Would you think she ought to start over? I don't think so. Look at how beautiful that is. It was a container, an old rusty container that was just sitting out dilapidated and unused. So Rotary is able to use dollars very effectively to do interesting and amazing things. And working with people with boots on the ground, as we do with this T-Call Club, gives us leverage and the ability to accomplish things that we could never do if we just were 1,000 miles away and had no contacts there with which to work. So now we'll move. This is Dr. Mara Quinn. She had her ophthalmoscope. This is the piece of instrument that's on her head where she can really look closely at a little child's retina. There is a condition that a newborn will have where a pigment will grow across the retina and the child will be blind. That can be picked up by the right instrument, and so a Rotarian in our district said, well, I'll step up and I'll buy her a new one since the one that she had was failing. And so that's her new ophthalmoscope. And next click. Because of that person's generosity and her expertise, 8 babies now have eyesight that would not have had eyesight likely had that Rotarian not stepped up to the plate. Okay, this is important, folks. We found that another trick. We found that their children's burn unit. Think about a hut with a wood fire in the middle and a pot of water or something boiling on that wood fire in the middle of pretty close quarters. and children running and playing. And you can imagine the disasters that can happen and the terrible burns from boiling water and boiling oil and other things that can happen to children. They found that the children were having to be bodily picked up and carried for treatment because they had no way of moving them around. So Rotarian and his wife heard about that, and they fixed that. And so they donated several $1,000s for painting the center, for providing wheelchairs, and see the air conditioner? Can you imagine being terribly burned and being in 100+ degree temperature and then having to be bodily handled and moved around? And oh, by the way, I'll just stop here, through some leftover money from the maternity project that you helped to fund, the mothers were sleeping between beds on pasteboard boxes to be there with their little infants and their children who had been terribly burned so that they could be there overnight, each night, with their child. So guess what happened to the extra money that was left over through the very efficient use of money that the Carroll Club did with our maternity project? They bought reclining chairs and placed them in between the beds so that the mothers could sleep there on something comfortable and also be at about the level of their child right across next to them on the mattress in the bed. Can you imagine how wonderful that is for those ladies who otherwise were sleeping on a cold floor? Well, not cold, hot floor. And now they're not because of you all, because of the money that you all contributed to the maternity ward and a little bit of extra that now we're putting to work. By the way, they also had a plastic tub where they do some of that scrubbing. That's a terrible part of getting past horrible burns. Now they're buying a stainless steel unit that really is set up for that, not just an old throwaway plastic tub. You did that too. Now let's move. I'm going fast because I want you all to see all of this. It's really cool. Keep going.
Okay.
Here's the hospital again. We're still focused there. You remember I came to you and talked about the maternity ward. We went down there a few years ago, back in 2019, prior to COVID. And here's what we saw. See the knots in the curtains and the windows? You want every bit of fresh air in there that you can get. So even knot the curtains, the sheer curtains, so that they don't provide a barrier for what tiny little breezes might come in. The floors were in terrible condition. This was a shower. I didn't even show you a picture of the toilets. You wouldn't have wanted to have seen them. You wouldn't have used them. My goodness, the conditions that these ladies were in, 60 births per day. So you can imagine the patient load. And in this kind of facility conditions, we came back and said, we got to do something. So next click. Number of clubs, including yours. Next click. There's some that you can't see. Sorry about the formatting on the slide, but you guys are right up front. You all were one of the significant donors, major donors for the $39,600, and it didn't take us long to raise that, by the way. So we wired that money to the Carroll Rotary Club. That was a club project grant. So because of foundation giving 3 years ago, you all were able to have money then that you matched. We were able to have money in Longview that we matched. Other clubs joined us. And then take a look at what's transpired. We were down in October. This is District Governor Carroll. Next click. And one more. This is the sign on the wall. And it commemorates the fact that your club, as people enter this facility, which is amazing in its transformation, your club will be memorialized at the top with the fact that you all were a part of this amazing transformation for these women that you'll never know. Next click. So now you begin to think, all right, what did it look like before? Now you begin to see what those Carroll architects, 2 of them, could do. This is project partly underway. Here's the next click. One more.
Yeah, there we go.
As we toured in October, here's what we saw. Beautiful facility. Artwork on the walls. 5 ductless air conditioners. There's one in the back in that picture at the top. There's one over to the side over here. So now it's climate controlled. It's no longer 115 degree apparent temperatures in that maternity ward where the women are laboring. Now it's something more comfortable. And oh, by the way, we had enough money out just outside the maternity ward was just an unused top of really a roof section of part of their hospital. So why don't we put a covering on that and some nice chairs? See the lady in red sitting out there where women could go out just for a brief moment and get some fresh air, and they put some flowers out there. You see that one out there, and all of that. Here's our team that went in October. Amazing what you all did by your generosity on being a part of this and being a part of Rotary. For those of you who are new, the multiplier effect and the leveraging effect of our money that goes to places where our money stretches much further than it does here. It's impressive. It's amazing. And Rotary manages our money and our contributions very well. Go next slide. Here's some other things. I call that beautifully appointed spaces, because I was thinking about this last night. And what we hear from the hospital administrators in October is that now word is spread, and this is the place to go and have a baby and to attend, because it's that nice, and it's what you all would expect if you went to the hospital for the kind of conditions that we enjoy here in our developed country. One more. Thank you so much for, this is not the last slide, but thank you so much for your participation in this noteworthy project, really to touch the lives of many, many others. If you think 60 births per day and you multiply that by 365 days a year, that's a lot of ladies, that's a lot of babies that come through this facility, and you have been a part of refreshing that, refurbishing it, and transforming it to something that is livable and workable in the way it should be for conditions for people in which to be served. So now back to the clinic, the eye clinic, and Dr. Markman. My Wi-Fi went down this morning and I couldn't put a picture of an ultrasound machine, but one more click. You all should know that you were a part of your club project grant this past year was to partner with the Marshall Rotary Club and buy Dr. Yvette a state-of-the-art ultrasound ophthalmic ultrasound machine where she can enhance even further her ability to diagnose, her ability to see, and it's really a laptop with a wand, an ultrasonic wand that feeds into the laptop, and then she could see an image on the screen of the person's retina. So let's say they have a detached retina or they have something else going on. She will, with this ultrasound machine, be able to detect things that even with the slit lamp and some of the ophthalmoscope or her headlamp kind of driven one, she will be able to detect things with that ultrasound machine that she couldn't otherwise. So thank you again. That machine has been received. It was, I think it was made in Asia somewhere, and then it's been shipped, and now it's in the capital city, and they're programming it and getting it all ready to ship to Dr. Margwin, and it should be there in about 2 weeks. You all did that. So if you think about, we've been talking about Flores and San Benito right here, going about 2 hours to the north, hour and a half to the north, past the Tikal monuments, the Tikal, really it's the temples there in that part of the old Mayan Empire, is a little town of Washington. So think wash and then act and tune with an emphasis on the last syllable. So next clip. We went up there to that little village, and we were able to participate in a clinic for the children of the village. Next clip. And here's what we found. We were up there with the Rotarians from the Tikal Rotary Club. This is their president, Dr. Floor. She is a dentist, and she and Dr. Marquin and others were helping to lead this clinic. Make sure I'm good. And there have been our monies for this project helped to provide for signage for helping the little kiddos learn how to brush their teeth. Here's the children all out in the schoolyard. And so they were receiving general instruction and getting ready for the clinic next. They had first a general health screening, so were there general health conditions that some of the doctors in the club needed to know about and to be able to help with? So that was the first part. Next one. And these children they're beautiful. They are really, these are some of the teenagers, teenage girls. We gave a Ziploc bag to each child, 150 children or so. Every Ziploc bag had a pencil, had 4 crayons, and had one other thing, a toothbrush and toothpaste. So every child in the village got that. Of course, they will exhaust some of that, like the toothpaste, but the Carroll Rotary Club, through some other funding, is going to work to keep that refreshed. So let's go to the next one. The next part of the clinic was dental. So this is a dentist, a retired dentist from Carter Hallmark from the Cedar Creek Lake Club. This is Dr. Mike Scott, who is a retired orthodontist. And they and Dr. Floor did the evaluations of about 80 or 90 of those children. I love this little girl in the middle. There's a word in Spanish that says open. And boy, did she open. Look at her, that second picture up there. I mean, she was ready for it, right? And the sad part, we'll go ahead. The next slide is where they actually, go ahead, one more click. We are blessed with dental care. One of the sad parts about our developed country, them Coca-Cola and Fanta and other products that are high sugar, and they are cheaper than bottled water. So guess what everybody drinks? The sugary soft drinks. And with no dental care, what we saw is that teenagers there, starting in their teenage years and on through their adult years, they have terrible cavities to the point that their teeth are simply rotted and have to be removed so that they don't have further terrible infections that can affect their heart and other parts of their body. So they did a number of extractions. It's not fun right here at lunch, I'm sorry, but that's part of what these gifted Rotarians were able to do. The easier part was the eye clinic. There's Dr. Marquin again with her slit lamp. And we see projected images of letters and numbers and things up on the wall. You can do the same thing with paper and taping it to the wall. That's the next click. A number of us got to participate in, where's the 2030 line? Where's the 2020 line? And can they see the letters? And in Spanish, it's A, B, C, D, A, F, E, and then on forward. And if they don't know the letters, well, the tinier, the smaller kids, they're little pictures of ducks and the sun and the moon. And so you get them to tell you what they can see. And they were able to outfit about 6 children with eyeglasses that needed them. And I have a video that I'm not going to present today, but some of those little children saying, "Gracias para mi lenses." Lenses is glasses in Spanish. Gracias para mi lenses. They can see now because, again, generous Rotarians through the Rotary Foundation are able to do some things for them. Next slide. And I want to show you something that touched my heart. While we're there in Washington and with all of these little children, next click, we saw this. We said, "What's that?" And it even had a sign on the door. And with our translator packages on our translator apps on our phones, you can point it to that sign in the middle, and guess what it said? Preschool. That's their preschool. You wouldn't put your dog in there because the thing might fall over on your dog. So we said, and our team members, 10 of us, said, surely working with these Carroll architects, who we've had such a good track record in running with, and working with the city, the village fathers, the village leaders, we could find out about what it would take to replace that with concrete and hayite blocks and an open covered school, kind of like a coal shed that we would put up in our area with a sheet iron roof to give them some shade, and then open air so that they could at least have a little bit of fresh air. What would it take? They told us about $15,000 to $20,000. Since January, going across the district, we now we're about $12,000 of that 15.
That's great.
I know. And so I fully expect that as we go forward in time, that we will be able they already have a site. They're already excited about the fact that we said, we're gonna go back home and we're gonna fundraise and we're gonna find out a way to do this. Working with you, the fathers in the village will build it, the architects will design it, and they'll have that thing up in short order. We're gonna go in February again. They may have it up and going if we can get the money to them quickly enough. Anyway, it's amazing what Rotarians like yourselves can do. And your generosity is important because the dollars that we have coming out of our economy go and stretch in amazing ways. What could you build for $15,000 here? Not much. I just put a little 20 by 20 tough shed, little man cave workshop in, and it was $20,000 here, just an empty shed. So just think about, what you and what we can do together. Next click.
That's your last one. Oh, there we go.
You really are truly making a difference. You sit here in your meetings once a week and you enjoy the camaraderie of Rotary, and that is so important. But what you support and what you're a part of with this international organization of which you're a part is tremendous. Next one, any questions or comments? 1 o'clock chime, we want to make sure I was out of here on time. We're good. We actually are very good. So, any questions? Yes.
Are there any resources there for them to create something of economic value?
That's the thing we loved about this village. Around this village is a jungle. It's equatorial kind of conditions. And we found that working with a sustainable agriculture organization out of their capital city, they have learned with this village, they tap chicle trees in the forest. Chicle, think of what you used to chew on when you were children, chiclets gum. It's the gum that they then export to the United States to make chewing gum. Well, through this sustainability organization, they've learned that they can tap each tree once a year. They take about 2/3 of its sap, and they, like the maple trees up in the Northeast, you collect that, you process it however it has to be processed, but you don't touch that tree again for another year because you want that tree to be there and to be sustainable the next year. Then we found that they were also harvesting. When you go to the florist and you see these beautiful flowers in a flower arrangement, ferns and greenery, things that look like palm leaves and things that they're kind of spiky usually,
Yeah.
and they give that green background to the beautiful flowers and the color in the front of this village harvests those green items. And they roll them up together in what I brown paper, kind of craft paper, and they export those to the United States to all the florists that are part of the network that they're supplying. They also have learned how often they can go and how many leaves they can carefully take from each tree so that it then regenerates itself, and how long they have to wait until they come back around. And in addition, the ladies take things like we would call them little dolls made of corn husk type dolls. Mm-hmm. They make these beautiful dolls out of some of the forest materials for the tourist industry that you can see the towers of Tikal from their village across the canopy. We also, through Rotary, through our club project grant, I didn't show you, but they have a fire tower there because their whole economy in this village is dependent on this forest and this jungle around them. And if they were to have a lightning-induced fire or a people-induced fire, they got to know it and they got to get on it. They're basically the fire brigade for a number of square miles around their village. And so their fire tower was in terrible condition. They could only send one person up at a time because it was so rusted that they're afraid people would fall through. So for about $9,000, we, through their welders and their supply chain and all of that, we refurbished their fire tower. So now they can protect the livelihood of this village where these people are working so hard to be sustainable in what they're doing and to provide for their village and their families. And Rotary's helped to and make sure that that is protected. It's amazing what we touch and what we can see and what we can do through the eyes of these TCAL Rotarians like Dr. Marquin and others. And then through our ability to fund those things and then their ability to do project management so that the monies are carefully accounted for. That answered your question. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been there. It's been a long time ago to Tikal Park. That's a UNESCO World Heritage.
It is.
Do they
It's
get
beautiful.
economic benefit? How close are they?
They are, if you get up on this fire tower, you can see the tops of the temples, temple 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And so they're probably an hour on bumpy roads by pickup truck and buses and things like that to Tikal. But again, their products that the ladies are making go to Tikal, to that World UNESCO site. And the tourists are able to buy those and the money comes back to the village.
Good.
Yep. Yes.
You mentioned ophthalmological. Is there, what other medical to address the needs of the people?
Serious by a family would get folks to this national hospital an hour and a half away. That's the closest hospital that could serve these people in the village. If they're doing a normal delivery of a baby, there are midwives in the village that help with that. If it's complicated delivery, then they've got to get them to the hospital there. And again, they've got that lag time to get there. As far as dentists, there's not really any restorative care that I have been able to find down there. So that's another step for us, where you do the preventive and the assessment care, and then eliminating the really terrible conditions, the teeth that need to be extracted. But in terms of really being able to do fillings and to do dental hygiene visits, they don't have that. That answer your question? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
This might be, is there a program down there with the local citizens, where it's training like to become a midwife, to become a dental assistant, or ophthalmological?
There are. Those are primarily in the southern part of the country, again, 10 to 12 hours away. In the school system there, children that aspire to something like you just described would go to the capital city where some of that advanced training might be available. There would have to be scholarships for it, or there would have to be some way that those could be paid for. So in these remote villages like this one, so much of things happen in the village and the next generation comes along and they take over. One of the things that we envision is being able to put solar collectors on these school roofs and to drop a feed down to a battery and then to run laptop computers and put software on those computers where you could teach math and science and world history and global anything. Some of the things that we enjoy in our school system, you'd want to make sure that that's what the village folks want. We should not come running in like a knight on a white horse and tell them what they need, because it may not be what they need. So we need to be listening with both ears, and as we were with this preschool, what are things that we can do that can really help you? And what are the things that you need? The Tikal Rotary Club has worked with a outfit out of, I think, Canada, Rotary Club up there, to actually put some of this software in some of the schools in other places. So it is possible to do that. Again, we want to be careful with what the village leaders and the parents want, just like we would want to be careful here. I'm going to quit so we get you out on time.
Thank you very much, Carroll. You said this isn't the first time you've been with us. We're glad to have you. We have also a certificate for you. We're making a donation to the Literacy Council in appreciation of what you shared with us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, we come now next to, we've got a couple of things coming up. We've got the Ace of Diamonds. We're going to draw for that in a moment, but immediately following that, we're also going to draw for, I've got 3 tickets to tonight's performance. Now, tonight isn't normally open to the public. Tonight's what they call family and friends for The Sound of Music at the Tyler Civic Theater. So the second drawing that we have will be for those 3 tickets. So how much do we have in the kitty, JB3?
$1,534.
$1,534. That's a useful amount of money. And let's have Carroll draw the ticket that gives the person a chance to.
I'm not looking.
There it is.
Okay, it is 876.
876. Who's got that?
Whoa.
All right.
It's over here.
Yeah, it's over here. Oh, man. Better like next time. Now, let's have Carol draw for the 3 tickets for Sound of Music. This is a $90 value, is what it is. You, significant other, and a friend. There's the first one.
All right. 867.
867. Who's got that? All right. You are the winner for tonight's performance. Here you go, Chris.
The rest of you all gonna be mad at me, right?
Yeah. It was them today, and I can already see some of you are posting about what's going on today. The word out into our community. Okay, let us all stand and participate in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do first.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We are adjourned.